We're going to do a follow along warm up for a handstand practice. Now, this warm up makes use of original strength resets. Now, resets are about resetting your nervous system. So if you've had a stressful day, this can really help calm the nervous system down and get ready for your workout. It also helps stimulate your vestibular system. Super important if we're going to be balancing, okay? Because your vestibular system is what helps you to balance. So we're getting that nervous system input. We're getting that balance input. We're doing some movements that are really going to warm up the joints and muscles and tissues that you need for your handstand. So this warm up has everything that you need. This exercise is called 90-90 breathing, and it's called this because we set our legs up at a 90-degree angle and another 90-degree angle. So we're going to lie on our back, and we're going to do 2 minutes of 90-90 breathing. So the setup for this is really important. Now, the first thing is you want your eyes looking up at the ceiling. Okay, so that ensures our head's in a good position. You want to keep your shoulders down on the floor. And we're going to try and avoid lifting our ribs. So if you can feel your ribs lifted up here, just want to bring those down. Now moving to our lower back. You don't want to be tucking your butt and pushing your lower back into the floor, but you don't want too much of an arch. You probably then have that rib lift as well. So you want a little bit of a gap here, or maybe gently touching the floor, but not too much pushed into the floor. Okay, you're going to press your heels down into the ball and make sure your knees aren't coming together. So just gently push your feet down, slightly bring them apart, and you're going to place your hands on your stomach for feedback. So we're going to begin with a nice deep inhale, in through the nose, and exhale. Now, there's no right or wrong way to breathe, but we can get a lot out of this for a warm-up if we use what's called diaphragmatic breathing. So when we inhale, we're expanding our abdomen, so not just up, but out to the side. So we inhale, make that nice expansion, and we exhale slowly through our mouth. And we feel that contraction of the abdomen. So again, inhale and exhale. In terms of your handstand practice, this starts getting your core ready to be nice and stable when you get upside down, which is super important. So a few more breaths. We're going to do dead bugs with a band. Now, my setup here is not ideal because my band is attached to a kettlebell. So better if you can attach your band to something that is not going to move. I'm just going to be very careful today. So you're going to lie on your back. You're going to have your shoulders wide, eyes looking up at the ceiling, ribs down, neutral pelvis position. So we've got that slight arch here. And you're just going to pull the band gently to create a little bit of a contraction. So you'll feel as you pull, get these lats turn on, a little bit more turning on here. So just a gentle pulling of the band. We're going to bring our knees up to this position. Going to inhale. As you exhale, extend one leg out. Bring it back. Inhale and exhale. I'm going to go for 1 minute. One thing to be careful of is as you're extending your leg, don't let that arch under your back get bigger. Okay, we want to keep that same pelvis position and that same lower back curve. Okay, so we don't want it to get bigger or smaller. If we tuck it under, makes the movement easier, okay? But we want to keep that slight natural curve as we extend our legs. We're going to set up on our hands and knees, hands about shoulder width apart. Knees about hip width apart. You want to make sure you have that slight arch in your lower back. I'm not into flexion here. So we've got that slight arch. And we're just going to sit back a little bit, keeping that nice position here. From this position, without changing the shape of our spine, okay, except our neck, we're going to look up. And then you're going to try and look and see if you've spilled something on your shirt. So looking up and down. And we're just doing head nods in this position, making sure that the movement comes just from your head, going into that nice neck flexion. You can hang out here if you're feeling a little tight on the back of your neck. You can just kind of hang out here, maybe rock your head side to side. Take a couple of nice breaths. We can keep going. So this is warming up our neck, getting some movement in there, and at the same time, getting our vestibular system ready for our handstand practice. Now we're going to take this movement and we're going to move into some cat-camel exercise. So we're going to bring our head down, so looking to see if you spilled anything on your shirt. And then we're just going to round our back into flexion. Now we want that nice, smooth rounding through our entire spine. We come back and then coming up. Tuck your butt, round. Really feel that stretch all through your lower back. And coming back up. So we're going to do arm circles at the wall. We're going to set up close to the wall in this nice sit back position. So again, nice neutral spine, keeping that lower back arch. We'll be right up against the wall. You're going to start thumb leading the way. You're going to bring your arm up as far as you can without changing the shape of your torso. So up as far as you can. Then you're going to start to rotate your arm, really getting that movement in your shoulder joint. So we rotate all the way. Keep turning your hand. Keep turning. Keep turning. And eventually you'll find that your pinky is pointing back the way you came. Okay? And then we can go back, leading with the thumb. And it's almost like we're unringing the towel now. So we're rotating as we come back around. So we're going to do 3 reps on one arm. I'm going to turn around and do 3 reps on the other arm. So a few more on this one. Really trying to keep my chest facing the floor and get all the movement through my arm. Now you can move further away from the wall if you don't quite have that range of motion. This is perfectly fine. If you're feeling any pain at all as you do this, move a little further from the wall and make sure you're just moving through pain-free ranges. Let's do the other side. So you might have noticed on that one, I was a little tighter. I started to move my chest towards the wall, so I want to just move a little further away from the wall to make sure I can do it with slightly better form. We're going to come forward. We're going to do a little wrist warm up here. So first thing we do is make sure we've got that nice contact with the floor. We can feel the heel of our hand pressing down, and we can feel that knuckle area right along beneath your fingers where your calluses are. So you want that pressed into the floor. Push the floor away, and we just lean into a little bit of a stretch. You'll feel A little bit of a stretch here, and you want to keep the heel of your hand really pressed down as you do this. And we're just going to gently rock back and forward. As you sit back, try and keep that nice spine position. Okay, we're warming up our wrists here, but there's no point in not getting extra benefit by keeping that nice position, working on our squat, all the way forward and pushing back. So while we are working our wrists here and warming up our wrists, if you're doing this by pushing, you really feel it all the way up your forearms and all the way up to your shoulders. So you're getting a lot of benefit from this one movement. We want to start making it a little more active. So as we lean forward, you're then going to push down with the tips of your fingers as you come back. And then you're going to pull with the tips of your fingers as you come forward. And the whole time you're doing this, you want to make sure your arms are nice and locked out and that you've got that push that comes all the way up your arms to your shoulders. So we're just gently pushing backwards and forwards. Really nice. And then we're going to just turn our hands slightly to the side. And we're going to rock from side to side. So again, you want to make sure the heel of your hand is staying pushed into the floor as we rock from one side to the other. I'm going to turn our hands to face our knees. And we're going to sit back. So we're getting that nice stretch. And we really want to think, like I could sit back further and let the heel of my hands come off, but I really want to keep that pressed down to get that full stretch through my forearms. And just gently rocking back and forward. This one can be a little intense, so if you need to place your hands closer to your knees, or maybe you can't sit back as far, all these things are perfectly fine. We're warming up here. This is about preparing your body. It's not about really going to your end ranges or stretching as hard as you can. Really nice. I'm going to do one more, which is backs of the hands on the floor. So we're just going to make sure we've got nice straight arms. Again, if you're having trouble straightening your arms, try bringing them a little closer to your side. It's a little less of a stretch in this position. You'll be able to lock your elbows out. So just make sure you've got that locked out position, sitting back. Nice stretch through the forearms. I like to finish just by closing my hands a few times. We're going to do a little bit of crawling. This really helps with our push for our handstand to really get that shoulder push. Also really helps with our core stability. So we're going to have our hands about shoulder width apart, our knees hip width apart. Exactly the same as we were doing when we were lying on our back. You want that chest wide, ribs down, that slight arch in your lower back. Create some tension. And we're going to lift our knees about 1 millimeter off the floor. As little as you can without them touching the floor. So we're just going to do that little lift. Now from this position, what we're going to do is we're going to push down. And I'm going to lift my right hand and my left foot and then place it back down. I'm going to push down with my right hand and left foot, lift my left hand and my right foot. So we're just crawling on the spot, lifting ever so slightly off the floor. Okay, now as you do this, you want to make sure you're not moving too much. Imagine you've got a cup of water on your back, you're trying to balance that. So after 30 seconds, you can just sit back and have a rest, and we'll do that one more time. So this is really challenging to do this movement correctly. So if it's hard for you, then know that it's also hard for me. So back in that nice position, pushing down, really feel that push through your shoulders, lift your knees gently off the floor, and then we're just crawling on the spot. If you have more space, feel free to move backwards and forward as you do this, but just make sure you've got that push through the shoulder, every single step. And that is our warm-up. We are now ready to get into our handstand practice.